Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Head 2. I hope you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So I'm going to talk about the Major League Baseball trade deadline, which is now 48 hours, less than 48 hours from this moment now. It's July 30th at 6 p.m. And we're going to cover it all on the big channel, Baseball Head. But here we talk about just general stuff here. And we're just going to run through the players, going to run through the names, and of course the teams. And we're just going to have a lot of fun doing this. I have a list here of about 90 players, and some of them have been traded, some of them have been traded, and some of them will be traded, or they won't be traded. But it's been condensed. A lot of New York Mets have been taken off the list, because the list started out with a lot of New York Mets, but they're not going anywhere with the Mets in the race. And we have some players that have been picked up by the Mets and a whole bunch of other teams. I expect a lot of names to be getting sort of filled in here in terms of where they're going. Let's start at the beginning, which is kind of weird because the list has been kind of like all over the place. Austin Hays. That's a great place to start. Austin Hays was with the Orioles, got traded to the Phillies. Two teams, your host says, will be meeting in the World Series. As you know, they traded a bunch of players to the Orioles, one of them being Sir Anthony Dominguez in a deal. He went to the Orioles, and of course, Hays went to the Phillies. Tarik Skubal. Doesn't seem like he's getting moved. I don't know what the Tigers are doing, quite frankly. But I've heard with them, connected with him, Baltimore, Yankees, Los Angeles, that's the Dodgers, of course, and the Braves. The Braves might be very panicked now because Reynaldo Lopez got hurt in the game against the Mets on Sunday. So they might be panicked about bringing in a starter. I've heard Jackson Holliday, but he'll probably not get moved. He would only get moved in a big deal, like for Tarik Skubal or something like that. Blake Snell, back on the market, possibly. I've heard three teams, San Diego, believe it or not, I couldn't believe that. But then I was thinking about that today before I saw this. Like, San Diego and AJ Pro, he's crazy enough to bring that guy back. That son of a bitch is crazy enough to bring him back, quite frankly. And they've been rumored. The Yankees have been rumored. If the Yankees were rumored, why didn't they sign him in the offseason? Another great ticket item for the Yankees. Gerrit Cole, Gerrit Cole, Jerry Pop, their ace, has been hurt, got just destroyed by the Mets this year. His Matt pitched well. Carlos Rodon. Kiss to the fans in Oakland. The 2 or 3 Yankee fans that showed up at the ballpark last year pitched terribly. Why didn't they sign him in the offseason? Oh. Can't figure that one out. Let's skip. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. We've heard San Diego, Yankees, Seattle, Washington, and Houston. Houston is in on all these first basemen, by the way. Tommy Pham, excuse me, for Atlanta, the Mets, Baltimore, Yankees, and Seattle. Maybe not the Mets so much since they made the deal last night. Luis Robert Jr. for the Phillies, Seattle, because Seattle still wants to bring in some bats. They got plenty of pitching. The Dodgers, the Braves, Baltimore, and the Yankees. Mason Miller. Basically everybody but the three teams I've heard, Baltimore, the Yankees, and the Phillies. Garrett Crochet, who's zipped his lip, don't want to talk about it. I've heard Baltimore, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Padres. Jesus Luzardo, I don't know if he's on the injury list still, but I'm sure that his name might pop up before the deadline. In terms of, I wrote his name down early. Tyler Anderson, I've heard the Mets, Houston, the Pirates. Eric Feed, now, this is a guy, quite frankly, the team should be very wary of. He has been a lousy major leaguer up until he went to Korea. And he came back and he's been playing on one of the worst teams in the history of baseball, the 2024 Chicago White Sox. The Mets have been connected to him. Please don't get him, please. I get a bad feeling about him. I got a bad feeling about this. Chaz Chisholm Jr. Oh, I'm so glad he went to the Yankees last night. Oh, man. I was laughing my ass off coming back here to the baseball hut, seeing that the Yankees picked him up. And Yankee fans are all excited. They have no idea what they're in for. They're taking talent over attitude, and a great clubhouse guy too, by the way. Taylor Ward, I've heard the Phillies, the Braves, the Pirates, Kansas City, and the Twins. Tanner Scott, he's got a big market. The Yankees, the Phillies, even after bringing in Carlos Estevez. Baltimore. It's funny, isn't it funny about the Angels? They're always bad, but they always have a good closer to move. Remember a few years ago they moved Raisel Iglesias, and now they moved Carlos Estevez. But Botanica, I've heard the Yankees, Philadelphia, Baltimore, the Dodgers, the Mets, Kansas City, believe it or not, they played really well. Arizona, they've come back from the abyss. Seattle and the Braves. Bo Bichette, I've heard the Dodgers, the Guardians, and the Braves. James Paxton went to the Red Sox. Jake McCarthy, I've heard with the Phillies. Carlos Estevez got traded to the Phillies. Elias Diaz, I've heard Cleveland, the Yankees, Washington, Pittsburgh, San Diego. Luis Rengifo, I've heard the Yankees, maybe not the Yankees so much because they picked up Chisholm Jr. and Kansas City. Brent Rooker, who now seems like he's not going to get moved. Seems like the A's are going to be actually kind of quiet. I've heard Kansas City, the Phillies, and the Mariners. Randy Arozarena went to the Mariners. The Mariners, since the trade, are 3-0. Cody Bellinger. I've heard the Yankees, the Rangers, the Phillies, Houston, the Washington Nationals, and the Mariners. I had a whole boatload of Texas Rangers. This might be down to the wire. They've been sort of on the edge of being 500, or below 500, getting close, and back down below 500. I don't know where they stand. But I have a couple names here: Max Scherzer, Tyler Yates, and David Robertson. Nico Horn, I've heard the Seattle Mariners. Michael Conforto. I don't know if the Mets are still talking to the Giants, but I would still go for him. The Mariners and the Brewers. Jack Flaherty, I've heard the Braves, the Guardians, the Astros, and the Mets. Zach Littell's out there. Zach Eflin got traded to the Orioles. Danny Jansen went to the Red Sox. A pretty big, interesting deal. Interesting. Yimi Garcia went to the Mariners. UC Kikuchi, I've heard him connected to the Mets, believe it or not, and the Astros. Trevor Richards, a whole bunch of teams being on him. Kyle Finnegan, I've heard the Mets, Brewers, and the Yankees. He's the closer, of course, of the wonderful Nationals. Harvey Hunter went to the Royals. Michael Kopech, I've heard with the Mets. Pete Fairbanks, I've heard, and he's with the Rays, the Yankees, and the Mets. Jesse Winker, as you know, got traded to the Mets for Tyler Stewart, a prospect. John Brebbia. Lane Thomas, I've heard with the Mariners and Kansas City. Cal Quantrill, Houston, Milwaukee, and San Francisco. Austin Garber, I've heard Cleveland, Houston, and Milwaukee. Trevor Rogers, I would expect a lot of teams, but I mentioned the Mets here. Andrew Chafin, the Mets. Luis Garcia, I've heard the Mets, the Yankees, Kansas City, and Boston. Be a pretty good setup, man. Dylan Floro, I've heard with the Mets. Paul DeJong, the Dodgers, Atlanta, and Seattle. I've heard Gio Urshela, Miguel Andujar, Josh Bell. Little news on him. He's been placed on waivers by the Marlins. We'll see if he gets moved. He can still get traded. But I've heard the Yankees, the Mariners, Houston, Washington, and Pittsburgh. I don't know why Washington. Isaac Paredes got traded. And this is a team that wasn't on my list. I had said the Yankees, Padres, Seattle, because these are all the rumors, the Dodgers, the Houston Astros, the Royals, Texas. But he went to the Cubs, of all things. Unbelievable. And he got traded for Christopher Morel, which was a shock. We knew Morel was going to get moved at some point, because he is a kind of guy that really, he's a little weird, to be honest with you. What is up with the eye black? Why does he think that he looks like a cat? Like he's in some kind of like school play. That he's playing Cat in the Hat, you know. Or the Cat in the Hat. I mean, really very strange. Zach Eflin, the Yankees. You won't get this anywhere else, by the way. Zach Eflin for the Yankees, the Braves, the Dodgers, and the Houston Astros. A.J. Puck got traded to the Diamondbacks. Brian De La Cruz, I've heard with Pittsburgh. Wilmer Flores is out there. Mike Yastrzemski, I've heard Seattle and Milwaukee. Ryan McMahon, I've heard the Dodgers, the Yankees, and Kansas City. Jose Soriano, I've heard Cleveland, St. Louis, and the Braves. Garrett Mitchell, who's a 25-year-old outfielder with the Brewers, I've heard him with the Mets. Mark Canha, the Phillies, the Mariners, and back to the Brewers. Believe it or not, Trevor Bauer's on this list. Believe it or not. I've heard the Phillies with him. Chad Green, I've heard the Phillies and the Yankees. Now, the last name in this list is a new name. And again, this is another player from the Giants. And that's Matt Chapman. I've heard that the Yankees are interested in him. Now, if they were so interested in him now, and they got to move players, why didn't they sign him in the offseason? Couldn't tell you. Unless the teams are trying to get the Yankees in on Chapman and on Blake Snell to get the price up in terms of prospects. That's the only reason I see their names, those teams' names, that the Yankees popping up. The Yankees wanted them, they could have signed them. Well, this is a little update. It was more than a little update of all the players, all the teams, who's been traded, who's still sitting there, who's expecting to be traded, and so on and so on and so forth. And thank you for watching this video. And of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut 2. And I'll see you later.